Hello, this video will provide faculty with an overview of how to use Blackboard Collaborate Ultra to meet live with their students. Blackboard Collaborate Ultra is a web conferencing system used to meet live with others. Ultra is integrated within Brightspace by D2L, so the instructor and the students can join the sessions live from within D2L. The recordings are also placed within D2L, so instructors and students can easily access the recordings within the D2L course. Instructors may choose to use Blackboard Collaborate Ultra for things like teaching sessions, office hours, advising sessions, giving course tours, as well as allowing students to work on group projects. Typically, in order to use Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, the student as well as the instructor will need a computer with speakers or built-in microphones. If you do not have speakers or working microphones, you can use the call-in feature to use your mobile phone to dial in and listen and speak that way. You can also download the Blackboard Collaborate Ultra app to participate on your phone. If you're going to allow yourself to be seen within the session, you will need a webcam. However, that isn't necessarily required to participate in the session. The students as well as the instructor will also need internet access or using their mobile data to be able to participate or host a Blackboard Collaborate Ultra session. Some tools you may choose to use in Ultra include the talking and video tool, the text chat tool, the hand raise tool, the sharing of screen or files, the writing on the whiteboard tool, meeting with others in breakout rooms, as well as viewing the recording in D2L after the session. To begin, the instructor will need to pull in the Blackboard Collaborate Ultra block within their D2L course. So they will need to log into their D2L course and then choose Content on the navigation bar. It is then suggested to make a module named Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, Meet Live Here, or you may even choose to put it in your Start Here module because it is something that will be used generically across the course. You can also move this module around simply by grabbing it and moving it to where you see a blue line, and that will reorder the modules in your course. So to pull the Blackboard Collaborate Ultra block within this module, click in the module, choose Existing Activities, External Learning Tools, Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. This will pull in the block. Notice that some information as well as a web link comes with it so that students are able to use this to learn more about Ultra before joining a session. So to add in your sessions, you'll need to choose the link, and then you'll open up to the integration area where you're able to create your sessions. Notice that there is a demo course room here available for you at all times. This may be helpful for office hours because this is an area that is always open. One particular beneficial use of this area is that it can be locked. So once a student comes into the room, you can choose to lock the course room so that others cannot join until you're finished with that student, meeting with that student. Then when they leave, you can come back here, unlock the course room, and allow the next person to be able to join in. The locking of the room is not something you can do in a regular class session, so that might be a good use for the course room if you're wanting to meet one-on-one individually with students and not allow others in, is to lock the room when they come in using the course room. Sessions are more used in teaching sessions or meeting with large groups. So to create a session, you choose Create a Session. You give it a name. It is probably beneficial to name it the name of the date and the time of the session. And then you'll be able to put in the start and the end date of when the session is to be available to students. So maybe it starts now and it will last until, say, 5:30. So that's when the session is going to be open. You can choose to have a no-end session to where it is always open. That is particularly beneficial if you're making group rooms. So in this case, if I was making a group session to where group one could just come in here anytime and participate and work together, I could name it group one's workspace and then have it to where there's no end so that the students could come in at any time. If I know that I'm going to be meeting every Tuesday at this time, so it's going to be a repeating session, I can choose to repeat session and to choose when it's going to be repeating and how often it's going to be repeating, so I don't have to make every single session individually. Lastly, it is important to have to leave the early entry on. By default, it's on an early entry of 15 minutes. It is encouraged to do this so that the students can get in a little bit early before the session begins. This will make sure that they test their audio, test their video, and are prepared when the class sessions start. So it's a good idea to leave that on. Lastly, on this area is the guest access. This can be beneficial in many ways. If you check the guest access and you choose their role to be a participant, then this will allow guest speakers to come into the course. So maybe you know someone that is not an employee of the college that you want to join in on the session and present content. If you want them to just join the session and participate as a student, just to view things, then you want to make them a participant. If you want them to be able to actually upload content and run the session as a teacher, you want to make them a presenter role. You do not, however, ever want to make the guest role a moderator. The moderator is the full amount, the full privileges role that you are in the session. And this allows them to kick students out of the session. It allows them to change the recording. So something that you don't really want anybody else to have the privilege to do. So if the guest role is joining just as a presenter, leave it there. If they're joining as someone who is going to teach in the class session and needs to be able to upload their files, you might choose the presenter role. Another use of this is if you are wanting others to join the session that are not enrolled in the D2L course. So say that I teach Section A and Section B and I want to meet with them both at the same time. I might come into Section A and my students in Section A, of course, will be able to join the session just by logging in because they're enrolled in this shell. If I want my Session B students to get into that, however, they can't log into Session A shell because they are not enrolled in that D2L course. So what I can do is give them guest access as a participant. And then when I create this session, I'll be able to grab that link and post it in my Shell B course so the students can click on that Shell B or click on that Ultra link and they'll be able to join the session without having to be enrolled in Shell B. So again, that is a great way to allow those who are not in the D2L course to be able to join the session. So that's often used if you're wanting to have a meeting with combined sessions. If you're wanting to have multiple classes meet during office hours, you can make one link with the guest access and send that guest access to multiple groups so that anybody in your classes can join during office hours. Another solution is for advising. So you can make a link in one of your sessions and send it out via email to all your advisees so that they can join the session at the particular time without having to add every single one person into a D2L shell. So just a couple more features. This session settings are some things that you can change. The default role that you want people to join as is the participant. Again, remember the participant is the student role. The presenter is elevated privileges to where they can't upload files, and the moderator is the full-on teacher role. You can also allow the students to be able to download the recordings. Down below, you can choose if you want the students to be able to only private message with moderators, or if you want them to be able to private message, but the moderators will supervise all of those private message. So if student A sends a private message to student B, you're still able to see it. So again, those might be just additional options. Then you want to create this session, and you'll notice that the session has been created. Now, you and the students are able to join that session simply by coming to the course, going to the content area, click on the Ultra module, and then click on the session to join it. So in this case, we're able to join that session. You will notice that you'll enter the session with a new tab. So this is just an internet tab. You did not have to download anything to join. And in this case, we're the only person in the room. As others come in, however, we'll see a little slide out here letting us know that others have joined in. So in this case, we see that someone has joined the room. So that is a good sign when you are waiting for everyone to jump into the session. So the first thing you want to do within your session is start the recording. The recording does not automatically start, so you do need to manually start the recording. You may want to make yourself a special note of that. To start the recording, you'll choose this top black pullout here in the top left and choose Start the Recording. You'll know the session is being recorded because you'll see this little red dot here. Other couple of options that you and the students will use are down here at the bottom of the screen. The first option is to share the audio. You'll press it once to turn it on and once to turn it off. When it is on and green, that lets you know that you are sharing your audio. When there's a line through it, that means that you are not sharing your audio. You do want to remind your students that when they are not speaking themselves, they do need to have their audio turned off. If not, feedback will come into the system and make it difficult to hear you as the instructor. So again, only turn on your audio when you're going to be using it. The second option here is the sharing of your video. Right now it is turned off because there's a line through it. To turn it on, I press it once, preview my video, share my video, and now others are able to see it. Notice that I see myself in the bottom corner here, but everyone else is seeing me in this main area here. So they see you in a larger panel as the students, but you see yourself down here at the bottom. And you press it once to turn it off. Notice these are two different tools, so you can turn on your audio and turn on and not have your video turned on if you're not comfortable with it. It is also suggested to not have very many videos turned on at the same time because that can bring down the connectivity. So you may just choose to turn on your video for a couple of moments and then turn it off after you introduce yourself. The fourth icon here is the hand raise. You probably won't use it much as a teacher, but your students very well may use it when you are instructing the class. They may press the button to raise their hand, and then you'll receive a slide out here letting you know that a student has a question. So in that case, you can stop and let them answer their question or ask their question, and then you can choose to lower their hand or they can lower their hand themselves. So again, this is a great way for when you are teaching for students to be able to let you know that they have a question. The majority of the rest of the components within Blackboard Ultra are going to be located on this bottom right purple pullout. So when we choose this pullout, we see that we have several links down here at the bottom. Now I can X out of this pullout and I can move it in and out as much as needed. So on the first icon here is a chat bubble. This is the text chat. So you can, in addition to speaking and using your video, you can type in chats here. Remember that when you are messaging the everyone group, that is going to everyone in the class. If I want to message just one individual, I'm able to come here and I'm able to find a particular student. I'm able to search their name and I'm able to send a message just to that particular student. So again, I'm able to use the everyone messaging is going to everyone in the class, and then the sample messaging is going, or the individual private messages are going to the individual student, and my particular individual student is named sample student here. The everyone chat is being recorded, so you truly can have these private conversations with these students without them being recorded. The next area is the participant panel or the attendees panel. You can select it. You're able to see who is in as the moderator, which will probably only be you as the instructor. And then you're able to see a list of the participants. This is the area where you're able to see who is joining in on the session. So if you want to keep track of who's in the session, you can pull a report later, or you can also come right in here and just take maybe a picture or a screenshot of who is in this particular session. Within this area, you're able to come up to all of the attendees and you're able to select this ellipsis icon and you can mute everyone in the session. If you're having some feedback and you're not sure where it's coming from, you can mute everyone. Or if you are able to detect who it is coming from, you can go beside the name of the student and choose to mute him or her if his or her audio is on. You're also able to check beside the name of the student and send them a private message, as well as potentially remove them from the session if the need is there. Notice in this attendees panel, you're also able to promote the individual to a different level. So everyone initially is going to be into the session as a participant, which is the student role. In some cases, I may want to promote certain students to present within the class. So maybe they're going to upload their own presentations and present a project to the class. So in that case, I need to promote that student. So I'll come beside the name of the student choose to make them a presenter. It'll change their role, and that will give them special access to be able to upload their files, share their screen, and share the whiteboard. By default, they don't have that, so I would have to promote them. When they are finished presenting, I'll come right back here to the Attendees tab, come beside the name of the student, move them back to being a participant, and then I'd be able to promote the next person to the presenter so that that individual can upload their files. The next icon here on the slide out is the one that you will probably use the most, and it is where you'll get to the sharing content area. So when you choose this, you have the option to share a whiteboard, share the screen, share your camera tool, which is very similar to this one, this icon down here, and then uploading files into the session, so PowerPoint or PDFs. So the first option is sharing the whiteboard. So when you choose to share your whiteboard, you'll see a blank whiteboard in the middle of the screen. Here at the top, you're able to write on this whiteboard. So you're able to get your pencil and write out different things, and the students are able to see you writing on this whiteboard. You're able to use your pencil tool. You're able to use a shapes tool where you're able to draw shapes, which can be beneficial when you are maybe describing a process and you want to create a flow chart of some kind. So you can use that. You can also use the text tool. You can change colors here. And so you can type in and use text tools. You can also clear the screen by using this icon. Now, when you clear the screen, it takes this away. It doesn't save it. It doesn't turn to another page. It clears it away. It will be available in the recording, but it's not something you can get back to within the session. So you may draw out shapes to create a diagram. You may write problems out with a pencil, or you simply may type a text question. And then ask the students to use their tools, which will be available here at the top, for them to answer the question. So in that case, the student would use their text tool and type in what they already know. Notice that I don't know what student said this. One way to potentially address that issue is when they post their message, ask them to put in their first name or their initials. This way, when they post the message, you're able to see who is actually posting it. When you're finished with the whiteboard area, you can simply turn off the whiteboard screen and it will return you to the main room. Before we leave, however, it is important to note that when you do turn the whiteboard on, students do have access to these tools just like you do to be able to write, text message, etc. It may be that you don't want them to initially have access to do this. You might want them to watch first before they begin to draw or interact. So if you don't want them to have access to these tools initially, you can turn that feature off by coming to the purple slide out, coming to the fourth icon over, which is your My Settings, and then under the session settings, unchecking their ability to draw on the whiteboard files. This will remove all of these links at the top. They're still able to view everything, they're just not able to interact. Then when you are ready for them to interact, you simply use the purple pullout, the My Settings area, the session settings, and then click on it to turn it back on so that students will then have access to those links. So when we're finished, we simply X out of this or stop this session. And now we're back to the main room, which is where, again, we would be sharing video if we had that on. So to use the next type of sharing files, you'll do the purple pullout here. The third over is share content. And then the second option is to share application or screen. This is going to be sharing your screen with the rest of the class. So you'll choose share screen, and then you'll choose which screen to share if you have more than one screen. You also want to make sure that if you do want to share your audio, so in cases to where you all are going to be watching maybe a YouTube video together and you want the computer audio to play through the speakers, and again, the best example is if you're playing a YouTube or another video through the session, you want to make sure, number one, to use Chrome browser, and number two, to click this share audio feature. If you don't have it clicked, they'll be able to hear you in the microphone, but if you play a video on your computer as you're screen sharing, they won't be able to hear the audio. When you choose to share your screen, initially you will see something like this, which are windows within windows within windows. This is a telltale sign that you are indeed sharing your application and sharing your screen. So it's very important that you know at this point to open a new tab to be able to share the contents of your screen. Again, you want to make sure to open a new tab to go to your website or to open up, another application. You don't want to do so in this screen itself because when you're done sharing your screen, you're going to need to get back to this screen to go back into the session. So in this case, you just want to open a new tab and then go to whatever website you want to share with your students. Notice down here at the bottom, we're seeing this message saying that you are indeed sharing your screen. So students are able to see whatever you have on your computer. This can work for websites, applications, Word files, PowerPoints, anything that is on your computer that you're pulling up on your screen, they are able to see. When you get finished sharing, you can either just X out of this tab to go back to the main area or choose to stop sharing. So if I just X out of the tab, I go back to these windows within windows of windows, and then we just want to press the stop button to return to the main area. The next option is the share camera tool, which again is very similar to what we looked at the bottom. We just press it once to share the camera. We'll choose to share our camera. And then we're able to see it here in the middle of the screen. So that's sharing yourself with the screen. So to turn it off, you just press the stop sharing button and we're back to the main area. The last option here is sharing of files. When you choose to share files, you can choose to share PowerPoint or PDF files. So you click Add Files and you'll be asked to upload those from your computer. After you select it from your computer, it'll upload. So again, this does take a while to convert depending on if it's a large file. So this might be something you want to do immediately upon entering the session while the students are joining in the session, you might choose to just come to this purple slide out and go ahead and begin to upload your files. You can upload more than one if you would like. So you can click other ones to upload. And you'll just pick on whichever one you want to share at that particular moment. But again, it does take a second to convert them, so you might want to do those earlier on in the session. So once it is ready to be shared, you click on it and choose Share Now, and then you pick on whatever file you would like to share. So now the students are seeing this screen with you, so you're able to move through these arrows to move through the screens with the students. Now notice here that you do have access to these tools here at the top, so you can choose to write on your slides if necessary. So you can circle words or you can type text as the instructor. Or remember that students by default do have access to these tools unless you turn them off. So you can build in things within your slides like interactive. So in this case, there's an anticipation guide where I'm going to ask my students to check how much they know about any of these particular tools. So the students would just grab the pen and then they would just make maybe a little tally mark beside what they already know. And then at the end of it, I would be able to see a total of the tally marks to see how much of my class knows about any particular tool. So that's a great way you can use interactive, building them into your PowerPoint slides as well as using these interactive tools. So to go back, you can just go back to this panel and you're able to share your next file. So just click on it and then share now, and then you'll be able to share your next file, be it a PowerPoint or a PDF. So again, the plus of uploading your files within the session using this share files area is the plus that you can actually write on the files. Well, when you're sharing your screen, you cannot do so. So when you're done sharing your files, you simply click this stop area to return back to the main session. The next tool that you can use is a polling tool, and you can use this at any time when you're sharing your screen or when you're sharing your whiteboard or when you're sharing files. A great way to keep them engaged is to set up a poll. So this is on the purple slide out under Share Content and Polling. You can choose a public, multiple choice poll or a yes or no poll, and then you can just type in your question really quick. Then when you're ready to share this poll with your class, you choose to start, And then everyone in the class is going to get a little pop-up right here. And so you, as well as the students, can answer that poll, and then you're able to see the results. If you want to, you can choose to show those responses to the rest of the class so that they're able to see a poll as to how the class generally answered. Now, know that this is not tied to an individual student, so I don't know which student said yes or no, and it doesn't show the rest of the students what individual other students said. It just gives us this overall graph. This is beneficial, though, if you're asking survey-like questions to help guide your instruction, or you may choose to use a poll every couple of slides for a content question. So you teach 4 or 5 slides about a particular piece of content, and then you come and ask a poll related to that content to check the student's knowledge. This will give you some formative data to know if they are understanding the content and you're able to move forward, or if you need to address some misconceptions. When you're complete with this polling, you just press the end poll, and you're able to continue on with your presentation. So again, if I wanted to create another poll on this page, I would just come to my purple pullout, choose polling, choose multiple choice or yes or no, and then type in my question. And then I would choose to start it. And then my students would be able to answer the question. And of course, I can answer it myself as well. Then I can choose to show the responses, and we're able to discuss, and this one is actually a content question based upon what we've discussed in the course. So this lets me know, okay, yes, they're following along, or no, they misunderstood something and I need to address it. Again, to stop the polls, I simply click the end poll, and it now ends. The last tool to be discussed within Ultra are the breakout groups. And so these will allow you as the instructor to create many groups of students so that they can go off and discuss particular case studies or concepts or work on a group project, etc. So again, it's the equivalent of having one large classroom with everyone in it and then breaking them into smaller groups. You as the instructor can move yourself into these groups to check on the different group members and how they are doing within their individual groups. So as of right now, everyone thus far has been in the main room area. So everything that we've done, everyone in the course can see it. Very similar to you being in the classroom and instructing the entire class. To create the breakout groups, you'll choose this purple slide out, share content, and then breakout groups. You then have the option of creating custom groups or random groups. Because there's less than 5 people in the course right now in the session, I only have the option of manual groups. In real class situations, you'll definitely probably have more than that, and you'll have the option here to choose random assignments, which is going to be helpful to you because it'll randomly put the students into groups instead of you having to manually put them into groups. However, it might be that there are pre-designed groups and you do need to randomly and self-create those groups. So, in doing so, you'll be able to see who's in the main room. So, you'll have a listing of everyone in the course or in the session. Right now, I only have these 2 individuals, including myself. And then I can move them into the sessions. Now, right now, there's only 2 groups. If I know that I'm going to need more groups, I can add a plus icon and it'll make group 3, and I can keep adding groups if I want to. I can even select it and rename the group if I so desire. And then I can manually move my students into whatever group they are to fall in. Again, if I had chose the random assignment, it would just randomly put the students into groups. Then to start the groups, I choose Start Groups. You'll see a message moving the students into groups. Now, I myself stayed into the main room, so no one else is here with me, but I'm here able to see that sample student is in group 1, no one is in group 2, no one is in group 3. So when these students are in these groups, it actually gives them the ability to become the presenter. So they are able to go to the share content area and share their whiteboard, share their screen, share their camera, share their files, do polling as well. So it makes them a teacher role within their group. So if I want to pop in and check on my students, I'm able to go to these groups and I'm able to move myself into the group that I want to go and check on. Then I choose Update, and it will move me from the main room into that particular group. So now at this point, I'm in group 1. I'm able to, any audio or video I share or any content that I share, only those in group 1 are able to see it. So again, it's very much a group within a group. Now, it is important to note that the groups are not getting recorded. The breakout rooms do not get recorded. So the only thing that gets recorded in this session are things that are happening in the main room. So it's important once you end the breakout groups to have a debriefing session in the main room so that that is caught on the recording. So if you need to move yourself to another breakout room to check on another group, you just click on your breakout rooms, grab your own name, and then move yourself to the next group, and then update, and it'll move you from the group 1 to group 2 or whatever one you've selected, and then you'll be able to discuss only with that group. When you're finished with the breakout groups and you want to return everyone into the main room, you just click this stop button here, and it will close the breakout groups and return everyone to the main room. And again, this is when the recording picks back up, and this is when you want to go ahead and have debriefings. So you maybe want to allow each member of the group to explain what they talked about in their individual group so that it does get caught on the recording. So at this point, we are finished with the tools in the session. So when you're done with the session, you simply X out of it, and that will leave the session. So after you've completed the session, you may need to wait a few minutes to a couple of hours, depending on the length of the session, for the recording to drop within D2L. So once the recording is dropped, you and the students will be able to access this recording by going to the course, going to the content area, choosing the Ultra session, clicking on the Ultra session, and then again, this will take you to the area to where there will be live sessions available. But in this case, we're not entering a live session. We're wanting to see a recording. So to see the recording, we choose the top the top lines in the left toolbar here, and then recordings. And then it will pull a listing of all of those recordings. If I don't see the recording I'm looking for because maybe it happened earlier in the year, I can do recent recordings and recordings in a range and then scoot it back to an earlier time in the course to be able to see a listing of more recordings. Then to watch the recording, I simply click on it and watch now, and I'll be able to see it just as if I were there. So I'll be able to see the sharing of the screen, the whiteboard, the audio, the video, as well as the text chat. The only thing I'm not able to see is what occurred in the breakout rooms. I can also, as the instructor, choose to download it as an MP4 to save it on my computer if I need to. I can also copy this link to send it to others. So again, in the case where we had the guest link, and I was showing I combined sessions, and I need to allow my other group to see the session recording, even though we were not there in this particular shell, I can just come here, copy the link, and then send this link out via email or whatnot to be able to see the recording. So then I'm able to just paste in the link to this recording, and you're able to watch it just like a video. So students in the D2L course can get to the recording by going to the Ultra area, but if they're not in the D2L course, I can copy this link and then provide it to them, and when they click on the link, they'll be able to come in and just like a video, watch the entire session and see the text chat. In some cases, I might want to know who is in the session, in cases of participation or in cases of, people were coming in and out of the session and I didn't know who was there. So I will be able to pull a report to see this information. So you would go to the content area, you would select the Ultra link to look at the sessions. Now, for the most part, you're going to be looking at a session that already occurred. So you're going to come over here to the side and you're going to look up previous sessions. And then you would select by the name of the session and choose to view reports. And then you can check whichever report you're wanting to look at. And it would list the name of the individual and when they joined the session, when they left the session, and how long they were in the session. So again, this would give you information as to who was in the session during the actual instruction session. So in this particular one, I'm able to see that the moderator was in as well as one participant, when they joined, when they left, how long they were in the session. And that is an overview of how to use Blackboard Collaborate Ultra within Brightspace by D2L.